Check. Can everybody hear me? Give me a yes if you can hear me. All right. So we got a lot to cover in 1 hour, folks. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Tom Hope. I am a Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, and I'll be your moderator / timekeeper today. I'd like to welcome our audience live right here on the beautiful UCF campus in the Student Union Hbcus Ballroom and watching online. You'll note this is called a campus conversation. It is not a monologue. So this is a little different than some other events you may have been to, where it's just a series of questions for the President. We'll have an opportunity at the end for about the last 15 minutes to address other topics of concern, maybe parking or a program or something. But we're most interested in your ideas as they relate to 3 questions that the President will outline in a bit regarding UCF's future, our potential, how we get there. We'll spend about 10 minutes or so on each of those questions. Again, if you have a more specific comment outside of those, we ask that you save that for the last 15 minutes. We'll be taking comments here in the room, and you'll see the microphones on either side here, as well as via YouTube comments. We'd like to get to as many folks as possible, so please be respectful of other people's time at the microphone. And if a topic has already been covered, know that we'll need to move on to another topic that has not been. We look forward to a great conversation. So without further ado, let me introduce your President, Dale Whittaker.
Thanks, Tom. And first of all, let me thank you for doing this, for keeping us on track, but also being such a calm and wise influence. We have a real opportunity today, and it's really not just today, it's as we think together about our future and to lay out our future. I do want to thank everybody for coming. I know that you could have been in a lot of different places today, so this tells me that you care about UCF. You care about where we're going, and you care about how we get there. So I look forward to listening to you. As Tom said, this is a conversation. I've got 3 questions I want to think together with you on. I'll be happy to engage and respond, but it's really about hearing your thoughts. One of the things I want to think about right now is that our future cannot be predicted by any single one of us or any single one of our perspectives. So the diversity of where we're coming from, your job, your role here on campus, your experience in life, your experience here on campus, is going to help a lot to create a robust vision of what we can be. I'm not going to say much more. I said too much yesterday in the opening about the difference between 20th century institutions, great 20th century institutions, and what the 21st century is holding for us now. But I would like to ask you to think about how our patterns are changing, how our environment's changing, how the people that we are is changing, and how that might inform your thinking about these questions. So let's get started on the questions. First of all, let me just say, again, Tom, thank you for making sure that we spend 15 minutes?
10-15.
10-15 minutes at the end, because there is a lot going on today at UCF. And I know several of you, including a group from the College of Business, are here to address some things that are going on today. So I want to make sure that we have a chance to hear those and get to those like we would in many of our normal forums. So we'll save that time, keep us on task for that. And now let's direct ourselves to about 10 to 15 minutes on these future thinking questions. So first of all, let me just say that I believe that this century's great universities are built on and focused on 3 things: talent identification from everywhere, unlocking talent from everywhere, and developing talent in a way that's relevant now. Second one is ideas. What are not only the great ideas that we haven't even thought of it that will propel us forward, but what are issues that we deal with right now, every day, that if we solve these gigantic issues and opportunities, the rest of the world could learn from how Central Florida solves these issues. And the third one is innovation. The great universities of this century, I don't think are going to be doing things in the same way that the universities, the great universities of the last century did them. And I came from two of those. I've spent 15 years, actually if you put my student years together, I spent about 20 years at Texas A&M and about 15 years at Purdue University. Both great 20th century institutions, but they will be doing things and continue to do things their way in a way that we have to and have the opportunity to innovate. So with that, question number one. I don't know if that's me or...
That is.
Okay. Question number one. I asked this question as what is your vision for UCF yesterday? And my sense was it was a bit of an unbounded question, so we tried to tighten it up today a little bit. So what would you like to see UCF known for? And we can put this 15, 20 years ahead of us. What do you think UCF should be known for? Let's spend some time thinking together about that.
Folks, we've got some microphones here. Who wants to go first? All right, let's do it.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
And thank you for doing this. I think it's a wonderful idea. So, with artificial intelligence becoming more and more capable, more and more humans are going to be displaced. And I've long thought that the solution to this is educational mobility, but how do we help transition people to new disciplines when they're already struggling? And it wasn't until we spoke after a provost forum last year that you gave me like the key insight, which was we need supply and demand market forces in the educational system. We need an educational marketplace and economy. And how this, because imagine if you could start making money as you're going through the educational process and learning a new discipline. That could help bootstrap people into new areas that they might be displaced from. And I think I have a lot of ideas on how to implement this, but to really summarize it, I think it could be done like a 3-phase approach, where phase 1 could be experimentation. This is going to take new ideas and we're going to have to see what works. And we could do this across disciplines at UCF. Trying new micro-credentialing strategies and new incentivization strategies and so forth, just to see what works. And then we could, phase 2 would be to start to open this up to to people outside UCF so that they could start being a part of this educational marketplace here. And then phase 3, I mean, all this is very tentative and forward thinking, but phase 3 would be to totally open it up. And to totally open it up to open up this educational marketplace to universities and educational systems across the globe and so forth. And I think that this could have really, really big societal impacts and really help us going forward, because I think education's the solution to pretty much all our problems. So that's my idea, that I think it kind of goes.
Great, and you may want to give that next steps a little bit more thought for the third question.
Okay.
So if there's room at the microphone after other people have spoken on the third question, give the next steps a little thought. I do want to respond just a moment to this thought about artificial intelligence and what I would call cognitive automation. So I'm not sure that it's that different than the labor automation of the Industrial Revolution, which took a lot of jobs in that moment in time, but created a different flavor of jobs. And I would challenge us to think about what education is when repetitive cognitive tasks can be done fairly straightforwardly. And if we are, in our educational system right now, teaching low-level repetitive cognition, like learn this and tell it back to me, then we might be missing the mark for the future. So I think there's 3 things in what I heard you say. One is, let's think about what education is. 2, let's create a marketplace that basically helps people who are learners know what the morphing demands are in the marketplace. And then 3, if we have an educational marketplace, can we maybe at some point figure out how to scale it to have impact beyond UCF as a prototype, but have impact on a regional or global scale? Thank you.
Great.
Let me see if this is actually working.
Good morning.
Check.
Good morning, sir.
to see you again.
Joseph Myerson, College of Medicine. Please forgive my temerity from approaching twice, but the way that you have rephrased that first question compelled me, sir. In the very recent past, things have come to light that explain some of the challenges we staff, particularly we staff with building responsibilities, have encountered. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to say I think we have a magnificent opportunity to become known as a center of transparency, integrity, ethics, and honesty. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well-timed. Morning.
Hi, President Whittaker. Thank you so much for hosting this open conversation.
It's good to see you again.
Great to see you too.
I always love the way you think.
Your major
So let's
question.
hear it.
All right, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. So your major question is, what should UCF be known for?
Yeah.
But among many students and alumni, UCF is currently perceived as an institution that cares more about revenue and reputation than its students. It is seen as an institution that will protect faculty and staff no matter what, even if it's at the expense of its student well-being. Frankly, I used to live in a factory, sometimes sleep in a mattress on the floor, and clean machines till my hands bled. And I felt more welcome there than SGA. My time in the executive cabinet felt like months of continuous hazing. Last week, an administrator abused her power as a notary to help file self-contradictory charges against me. This same administrator has committed verbal abuse, intimidation, harassment, condoning and enabling public humiliation, complicity in attempting to cover up these actions afterwards, and avoiding all accountability for her actions. And I'm far from the only student who's experienced this over the course of her stay here. This is far from an uncommon occurrence, and I'm absolutely not the only person in this room who knows of someone being abused, harassed, or even raped by an administrator with no justice. It's perceived that there's very little accountability for administrative harm. I'm not even going through the process of reporting this formally because of how many of my friends have tried to do so and have been humiliated by it. I unfortunately have no reason to believe that the current process in place could do anything about her. But even though I've lost hope in that process, I believe there is hope, and that there are 2 steps the university can immediately take to increase the safety and well-being of its students. The first step is that we should hire a diverse body of staff members in the Ombuds office. Most harm, especially sexual assault, goes unreported because it's daunting. It's a daunting Kafkaesque process to bring in administrative justice. And I believe that UCF should be people first, not form first. Having more options for students to resolve conflicts with administrators and each other within a mediated, fair, and peaceful environment will be good to improve the processes for students. So again, more diverse body of staff members in the Ombuds office, especially some for students. The second thing I believe we should do is commit our university to the 9 principles of excellence in academic advising. Our advising system is fundamentally broken. The best advice every freshman receives is to avoid advisors and ask seniors how to schedule their classes. Our advisors are famous for misinforming or misleading students, leaving many permanent scars in their career that they will never recover from. I strongly believe that an organized advising system can increase connection, community, retention rates, as well as 4-year graduation rates and lower 6-year graduation rates. All academic and financial advisors should also be trained in how to handle reports of abuse or harassment. So specifically, these are 9 principles of excellence in academic advising that are well-established, well-studied, and have been implemented at universities before, and are frankly something we can implement by the end of 2019 that would significantly increase graduation rates and people's ability to feel connected not only to the school, but also to their own careers. We can't unlock students' talent if we feel like our school is a cage. If ideas are being suppressed, then they cannot come to light. I'm confident that the success of our alumni and therefore our school depends on guaranteeing the safety of our students so that we can dedicate our efforts to our studies and our careers. Administrators need to live up to higher standards for students because they model the behaviors that students learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let me just comment that you raised a lot of issues. One of those is diversity in the Ombuds office. The other is the lack of belief in reporting because you or others, and I'm going to depersonalize this, others may find that that won't be taken seriously. We have an integrity line. I want to make sure that you know that we take that seriously and that you use that. Number 1, we've increased our investigators for sexual assault and sexual abuse and victim services. We take it incredibly seriously. There's absolutely no place at this institution for sexual harassment or sexual assault or any kind of harassment that puts a person in a cage. We will be at our absolute best as a university when each person has the freedom to be who they are without being stepped on by anybody else, as long as they're not stepping on somebody else in being who they are. So these are things to take seriously, and I hope that afterwards you will maybe, Christine, speak about your personal specifics, because I don't want to do more of that here with Christine. And we'll do a follow-up there. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Self. I'm a record producer, and I also go to the Rosen campus. You asked, what do we want UCF to be known for? I would probably say creativity at its finest, specifically in music. As a music producer, I want to expand what we can do. It seems like we're not really, like, I know we have a lot of avenues that we have to focus on, but music is definitely an outlet of relieving stress, anger. It covers a wide range of emotions. I manage an artist that also attends here named Brendan Pafford. Ron Logan is familiar with him. Like, a lot of people are familiar with Brendan Pafford. What I'm interested in is seeing how can we go about actually having a little bit more focus towards the music genre. Because Orlando alone, where we were originally known for having pretty much all the talent. I mean, from TV, film, music, we had all the talent. But with music, even today, there's a lot of artists that come into town that a lot of people don't even know about, that if we work with some of the recording studios around Orlando, I think it'll help boost up a lot of people, because a lot of people, even in my classes, want to know about production. I'm like, I can teach some of you guys, but I'm only limited on time. I can only stretch so far. But I was just really curious about how can we go about trying to get a little bit more involved in the music aspect.
Okay, first of all, thank you. This focus on and stay at the mic, I got questions for you. This focus on creativity in music, I think this is an area where I would like to explore very bold steps. So let's just think about, I think it was Thad Seymour. Thad, are you in the room? Okay, we'll give him credit for it since he's not in the room. I think it was he that helped me think about this the first time. He said, you know, in the 19th century, where was the center of entertainment? Where was the center of capital? Where was the center of ideas? And where was the center of migration? It was New York City. Mm-hmm. It was Broadway. Mm-hmm. It was the Wall Street. Yep. Where was it in the 20th century? The 20th century is Los Angeles. It was Hollywood. It was Silicon Valley. And it was not a migration from Europe. It was a Pacific migration.
Agreed.
Where is it in the 21st century? And what does it look like? And I am convinced that it's here. It's right here in Orlando. Totally. We're already emerging as a world-class city, and we are known for entertainment. But what does that look like? Does it look like augmented reality? Does it look like virtual reality? Does it look like simulated worlds? Does it look like gaming? And where is that migration of talent and capital coming from now in this century? You know, is it Latin America? Is it the Southern Hemisphere? Is it Africa? So there are some interesting trends that you raise that when I think about, or when I hear people talk about what do we want UCF to be known for, I think we could squarely put a flag in the ground around music, not just traditional and classical.
It's a lot. Like, I mean, I kid you not. When I tell you I meet a lot of diverse type of art, from alternative to pop to EDM, and it's like, we're all sitting here and it's like, LA doesn't know anything about this, New York doesn't know anything about this, and it's
the
an
world
international
is looking
hotspot.
to us.
Yeah.
The rest of the world is looking to us, so thank you.
No problem.
That's duly noted.
More questions?
Yes. Not questions.
Comments?
Okay, so first I just want to state that UCF has what many people will see as overpopulation. Now I do understand that this is a direct result from UCF's grand vision that everyone who wants an education can attain one. It is what has allowed Orlando to grow into the major city it is, and nobody remembers when university was just a 2-lane road, but it wasn't that long ago. With that said, I want to say that we also have a blessing to have one of the biggest campuses with a massive diversity, and we're able to support such student numbers. With that said, many people come from different educational backgrounds, and I feel that in the future, UCF's brand would shine best under the umbrella that UCF can provide an experience to teach individuals different needs, you know, educational and extracurricular, rather than just working with large input and output in terms of acceptance and graduation rates. What do you think that we can do to get to that point?
Well, can you expand a little bit on individual needs and kind of what that looks like in the future, and maybe in the context of what a student experience will look like in this century?
Yes. Well, for example, extracurricular, like the person before me said with music, to really just be able to hit the types of genres, the type of music industry that they want to go to versus just getting that music degree and pretty much trying to make it your way. In terms of educational, I feel that instead of having such an umbrella form of education, kind of doing online and lectures the same way, we should really try to reach each individual's needs as that they were taught in their previous institutions. So some people come from other countries where they're not taught exactly the same way that we're taught here, so then they struggle kind of grasping the information at first, and we really have that kind of delay when they come to the university instead of just grasping it right away.
Yeah, so some of the ways that I think about that, and this artificial intelligence move may be part of it, but yesterday a really good point was made about learning didactically online versus learning deeply. And deep learning is a human experience. It's a human interaction. Sometimes that can be mediated by machines, but it's very different from learning your content from a machine, let's say, with no human on the other side of it. No one that is watching you, cares for you, is modifying your experience. So that's one of the things I think of is what are deep learning experiences for our students in the future, and what does that have to look like in terms of not low-level skill learning, but high-level critical thinking, cultural communication, being able to rapidly adapt to an evolving society and technologies. So that's one piece. The second piece is that I think after World War II, when the United States had the GI Bill, which brought not millions, hundreds of thousands of people into higher education that had been excluded from higher education up until that point. It was a main tipping point for the United States in terms of middle class America having access to high quality education. The way that was done was basically using what we learned from the Industrial Revolution. So it was, and prior to that, a lot of curricula were customized. After that, it was, you want to be a chemist? Here's what a chemist looks like. It's 120 credits. You start here, you take these, and moving into the Kaizen era of the 80s, the quality era, it was, let's make sure we're doing best practices, but again, we're looking at the bell curve, trying to find best practices for the bell curve. What Amazon has started to teach us is that you don't have to do that from an individualization point of view as long as you really understand the individuals and can take the assets and customize them for the individual. So I wonder, as we think about what UCF can be known for in the future, is there a way that we can start setting the stage for massive individualization, or for individualization at scale with a deep commitment to the human part of the experience? And sometimes that might take place, I was thinking about your point about making money while you go to school. Some of the best places that might take place is in an authentic environment, which I'm thinking about the downtown campus. If you're pre-law, there are a lot of authentic environments down there, which is slightly different than as a professor, an engineering professor. I was always trying to construct a simulated authentic environment in a university setting, which we try very hard to do, but it's a little bit different than the authentic environment. Right. So thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you very much for your comments.
A lot to noodle out on that one.
I think this will be our last comment on the first question.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having this. I appreciate the opportunity. When I think about the question, what do you want UCF to be known for? I want it to be known for doing what's right. I'm aware of the downtown campus, and I'm really worried about the community that will be affected there. UCF itself will be benefited, and we stand for opportunity, but what about the actual population that will be affected? The gentrification that will happen in that area. What about the people that will lose their jobs, the people that will take their kids to a further daycare center, the population that is already there, the high schools that are actually surrounded in that area? In a few years, if UCF continues to buy everything, what will it look like? And I just want to know what we could do about that, or if there's anything that we could do about it. Because as a Black student on this campus, I do worry about myself and my education at UCF. But when you look about how people look at UCF, do they see the diversity that is here? Do they see UCF as me, or do they see it as something else? So I really love my university, and I have great pride in it, but when you look at the population, like my population, do they look at UCF as black, or do they look at it as diverse? Do they look at it as someone that's trying to take over everything that was theirs? So I do worry about that.
Thank you. Stay right there. Because I want to turn it back to you. First of all, there are a lot of other people worrying about it with you. And I want to connect you to those folks, because we've been, that group, including Valencia, including the Community Foundation, including the K through 8, including the Paramore community itself, have been working hard and have had some pretty good results, but that doesn't mean there's not plenty to be concerned about. I'll tick off a few of those ideas. But let me just fast forward you, if you don't mind, to 21 years from now. And let me tell you why, okay, let's go 19 years from now. Let me tell you why I did that. Because we said that the children born in that neighborhood starting in January 2017 should have a different outcome in their lives than what was predicted. And the question is, how does our presence there make that happen? And the answer can't be, you move away, right? Exactly. So can I just ask you to help me think a little bit about what the university's presence in Paramore could do if everything was well done?
I think if the children there could see that UCF wants them and that they will be welcome here, that they'd actually want to attend UCF as well and not leave the area. If they were given the opportunity to also be there, it's not like we're pushing you out. Or even the parents there, we're not taking your jobs, but come get a job. Something in that area of the things.
Outstanding. Okay, I'm going to just tell you a couple things that, let me start with Valencia. So one of the things I love about Sandy Shugart is he believes in these ladders of access. So if you need a GED, you can go to the Orange County Technical College right there and get your GED while your kids are still at that K through 8 and you're walking right past the Valencia UCF campus. If you want to take that GED then and get a 2-year degree, you can do it right there while you're working and so on. Even before that, they started a construction technology program that I think now have had 40 graduates. It's in that number for people from that community specifically to get from a $9 an hour job to a $14 an hour job, and then to be prioritized for employment on all the construction jobs that we're doing, that the developers are doing down there in the neighborhood. And that's been an example of making sure that the parents have not only financial stability, but the ability to get better and better jobs to stay in the neighborhood. The second thing, just so you're aware of it, is the Community Foundation, with involvement from UCF, but they really led it, put together a land trust. Is that right? Did I get the second word? A land trust. And what that does is it stabilizes the land values in the neighborhood so that they don't escalate in the way that gentrification normally drives land values. And then the third thing is the developers put up a 400-unit mixed income facility to basically add housing stock at the low-cost end into the neighborhood so that if private landowners raise their rents, there's still a place in the neighborhood to stay. So there are pieces that are moving, but your involvement would be very valuable there, and your concern I really appreciate. I'm going to say one more thing. May I say one more thing?
Okay.
Oh, great timekeeper. I just found this out, and I think it's fascinating. We're the #2 producer of underrepresented degrees in the United States, and on African Americans specifically, we're #4 in the United States. And I don't know how many HBCUs there are. There must be at least one in every state and a couple in most states. Maybe there's, I shouldn't guess, but there are a lot of HBCUs. We come in at #4. So it is true that we already have critical mass of African American students, Hispanic students. We're #2 in Jewish students. The next one's in New York. So it's just amazing the critical mass we have here that people outside of us don't recognize.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So our next question here, what are our areas of greatest potential? Think about UCF and where are our areas of greatest potential?
And as an example, I would just say your music example would be one of these examples of great potential. Morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for the opportunity. So one of the things that I think UCF has that I haven't really seen at other universities I've been at is just sheer size. And the potential there is to be able to have people that are specialized, doing really innovative things that they wouldn't have room for at other universities just because there isn't the student body to specialize or offer specialized classes, or there just isn't enough room in research budget. So one of the areas that I think UCF can really push is just in terms of innovation, because we have so many people doing so many things. One of the risks, I think, is that the tendency, the bigger something gets, is to siloize and to specialize so much because you have sort of so much to tackle that you're just going to try this one tiny slice of the pie because the pie is so big. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, because I do creative writing, but I'm also interested in the arts, and my undergrad was in computer science, is in things that are interdisciplinary. And I wonder about, with the campuses splitting and departments often specializing in different ways, what sort of avenues you see to sort of prevent the breaking of communications between campuses, between departments, and fostering and encouraging true communication and projects that are able to cross boundaries.
I think you made 2 points there. One was a second question about communication, and the first one was about a culture of innovation that, with an awareness that the danger is to silo. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me try on the first one first. And let's just think about that. So, first of all, I recognize it as well. And I don't think it's unusual in any large organization. It's really not unusual in universities, in that you could see an innovation in a specific faculty member or a specific class, or even a small group of people, and the innovation may get published, but it often dies there. It may get repeated, I don't know, at Nebraska or somewhere, but that's usually through relationships. So I think one of our opportunities is to find ways to, number one, seed and release the innovations. So a lot of times these innovations, a few dollars will go a long ways to formalizing them, studying, so they're a little bit more than an experiment. They start creating some kind of evidence around the experiment. And because of our scale, I think there's a real opportunity then to internally scale those innovations. And we're trying to do that to some extent. Lisa Jones with the Marchioli Innovation Award, which basically says when we find these innovations around campus, can we put a little bit more juice behind them to see if they carry water over in chemistry and over in optics and at Rosen. But that's where I think a lot about our, for example, student data. If we were to learn something about learning at this institution, it has a lot of credibility because of our diversity of discipline, our diversity of students, our diversity of backgrounds, and our scale. It's statistically significant when we learn something here that could go very easily to a place like Rollins, where there would be no way they could have that kind of diversity of discipline and scale. So this is something I appreciate you raising it, and what I'd like to do is put it on Thad Seymour's plate as our new Chief Innovation Officer and Vice President for Partnerships, because I know right now he's thinking a lot about how do we take sparks of innovation and translate those in the business world. Let's get them through the valley of death to the point where they're licensed and get into the marketplace of ideas. Your second one, I think, is a real tension and a real struggle, and it is an opportunity. I don't know how we will solve it yet. I think we will not be the first ones that experience it. So here's the way I see it. We've put disciplines together in tight geographic areas that are embedded within an ecosystem, a broad ecosystem of enterprises. So let's just take pre-law, downtown, and pre-laws with education, and with criminal justice, and with nonprofit management. Let's think about those. So those are different, and they're not necessarily together on this campus right now geographically, but we've put them together, but we've embedded them in this very deep and rich, authentic ecosystem of companies and enterprises. So there we've gotten, I think, a win. We have to make sure that we exercise that ecosystem to get a win. But what we've done is, by geographically co-locating them, we've dislocated them from another geographic co-location, this one, for example. Other companies use technologies for communication. Other companies use diaspora. In other words, faculty that are here for one semester move there for a semester. I don't know. I think this is a question that if we don't get it right, it'll hurt us. If we do get it right, then we're going to see this explosion of opportunities at our anchor campuses.
Thank you.
But some of our best lie in the intersections we haven't, that are not together right now, like hospitality and healthcare. That's a brilliant opportunity. What about augmented reality and virtual reality? Should it be where digital entertainment lives, or should it be where simulation lives, or should it be where the application, healthcare and education lives? These are really important questions for us to struggle through.
Thank you.
And this will be our last question on this topic.
Hello,
and
Adam.
I'm also being told there are 107 HBCUs in the United States.
Okay, we come in at number 4 of 107. Oh, I got one for you. Number 4 on Hispanic serving institutions of 470 Hispanic serving institutions. When we get declared in December, we come in at number 4.
Hi.
Greetings.
So UCF is already considered one of the best universities in the country for LGBT students. The registrar has made changing preferred names on my UCF and web courses easier than ever. Yes. We have spaces like Pride Commons and the SJA Lounge, and we have offices like LGBT Services to advocate for us. But there's still so much that needs to be done to make this campus inclusive and accessible to LGBT students. Primarily restrooms. Most buildings on this campus, I cannot use the restroom in. I can't go to the bathroom in the library. Am I not supposed to study there? What about the honors college that I am supposedly a part of? Or how about the heart of campus that belongs to everyone else but not myself, or the professional staff that work here and can't use a neutral restroom? What about name changes on emails? Every email that UCF sends me misidentifies me. I can't even use the Office 365 suite that our Microsoft partnered university gives us because I can't get IT to change the name on it. And another point that I would like to focus on with LGBT inclusivity is hate speech and political groups here. We have chapters for Young Americans for Liberty and Turning Point USA, but even clubs like the Young Republicans, all of these people have advocated for nights to go vote for politicians that revealed my Title IX protections and that label me a predator for using a restroom. But UCF sanctions these groups and these voices in conversations. There needs to be a lot more done to make this place an LGBT-safe campus. So what is going to happen for that?
Okay. And can you translate that to an area of greatest potential?
We could be more inclusive.
Okay. And we could stand out because of that. Let me first of all ask for your specifics, ask you to talk to Christine. I appreciate the fact that we have made progress on names on the registrar, on preferred names from the registrar. I'd like to make sure we fix that in other places where it still exists. So thank you for bringing that up. On the restrooms, that's important and it's a commitment. It's harder on existing buildings, but we need to get focused on that and make sure that we have opportunities for everybody in every building. On the new buildings, I know that we are focused on it and we're making good progress. So specifically on the trans and LGBTQ issues, let's get focused on those and let's make this a welcoming place for everybody. On the consideration of, I think you didn't use the word condone.
Sanction.
Sanction, thank you. We don't do that. As an institution, as a welcoming institution for everybody, we don't sanction perspectives and we don't sanction voices. We do sanction treating each other with respect, civil debate, wide and diverse views, and there are a lot of different student organizations on this campus. So I want to be careful that we are open and inclusive, but I also want to make sure that everybody their rights are protected to be fully who they are.
Well, I know your perspective is having multiple voices is great, but as a trans person, having hate speech is dangerous. It's not acceptable.
Well, when it becomes dangerous, I'm with you. So what I want to be sure that we find a way to have is free speech, and at the same time that everybody is protected. And this is the hard work right here. So let's work on the hard work together. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll have to kind of abbreviate our final question, but it is an important one of how do we achieve this vision we were starting to lay out here.
Yep, now this is almost tactical. In other words, what might be next steps? What are things we can actually do? What are actions we can take?
So about the educational economy idea and so forth, and really distributing education and really kind of trying to scale it up, I think like the key is distribution. Like you said in a previous comment, was individualization is very important. Mm-hmm. And it's but when there's like one professor for 1,000 students, individualization, it's just you can't do it. But distribution can be the answer. And so how do you distribute this type of work? Well, like one possible solution is already kind of being done with Dr. Sean Zumlansky in computer science. And what he's doing is he's taking his top students, or he's offering this for his top students from the previous semester to give TA hours, basically like undergrad TA hours for the next semester. And it's volunteer. And I'm not sure what kind of incentives he's doing. Maybe he writes him a letter of recommendation or something, but there's some way to incentivize this so that he has a whole matrix spreadsheet of office hours that students can go and get individualized education from people who just went through the process that they're going through, and they understand like the struggles of it. Mm-hmm. And everything. And I think that's so really like the key is distribution if you really want to scale up individualization. So I think that's how we can get towards something like this.
Yeah, I think you're excuse me. I think you're raising an important distinction between individualization and personalization. So individualization means that your product is specific to you, either how you learn or what you're interested in. Personalization means that, and you have a personal relationship with a human, with a person. So I think both of those are important. One of the things that I said yesterday was if you think about everybody having about 40 professors, and many people in this room can remember the name of one professor that had really changed their lives, maybe two. Most of us can't remember 40. That one of the things we can focus on going forward is making sure that there's a deep and sustained relationship with at least one or two professors. And that might be part of the distribution idea. And then maybe, to your point, engaging more learning facilitators into learning, which may be distributing the human interactions a little bit more. Thank you. Robert.
Hey, President Whittaker, thank you so much for having this forum. This is really exciting, talking about how do we get to the future utilizing our greatest potential. And one thing that I've learned being a Rosen student and valuing creativity, like my fellow knight mentioned, was creativity and the flow of good ideas comes from a culture where failure and the fear of failure doesn't exist, or people are encouraged to fail often, and fail fast.
And learn.
And learning while doing it, absolutely. And so one thing that I would like to bring up, or something that maybe we could do to reach this university where great ideas are always coming forward, would be to have colleges and representatives from those colleges, staff and students, coming together with their best ideas, the best ideas for the academic year, their best ideas for the semester, and then seeing where those ideas could cross over to other disciplines. Since we mentioned we have a diverse discipline selection, why not use leaders from those different disciplines to collaborate together, kind of make this think tank where you can see your idea played out in another discipline and you get feedback from people. And although it may feel like failure at first because it's feedback, you'll get an idea of what your idea could be like in this marketplace that we're getting prepared for. Can I make myself clear on that?
Yeah, but can I get you to push it just one step farther and maybe draw a picture of what that day or space might look like?
Sure.
Or is it more than day and space? What could it look like?
Well, let's take it back to the music example. So at Rosen, we have a lot of students who are very interested in music production. So let's say a student comes with a great idea with how to have a move of innovation in the music industry. All right, so we have this idea at Rosen. Well, let's take it over to engineering. How could we, from an engineering standpoint, make this happen? This is our idea. What technology do we have at our hands to make this possible in the music industry? Something like that, to where we can use our community as a way to move forward.
I bet, I wonder, I shouldn't bet yet. I bet we could raise funds to seed those ideas as well, from donors. That because the learning when this happens is so deep because it's so internally motivated, and the rewards, whether there's monetary rewards or an actual app or a product developed, those would be great. But the rewards of just pushing each other intellectually like this can be so high.
Especially when the motivation for it is coming from faculty.
Yeah.
Well, from faculty, and the faculty are seeing our hearts, seeing our passions, and then keying in on it, saying, hey, go for it.
You can do this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And we can continue talking about any of these topics or any other topics for the remainder of our time here. Thanks.
Good afternoon, President Whittaker.
Good afternoon.
I speak on behalf of me and some fellow students from the College of Business. UCF's College of Business could use a different approach other than the way it's being approached now. Students in a multitude of classes are not receiving proper instruction because their professor is only guiding them live 5 times a semester. Students should not have to teach themselves statistics or accounting or any content for that matter that they are unfamiliar with. It should be better guided by professors. It is up to the student to comprehend material. It is up to professors to teach it. An excellent suggestion from COBA students is hybrid formats for the classes instead of relying on online formats. To teach students, maybe increase class meetings with required recaps of what was learned that meeting, or increase the time spent in class. If this is a budget issue, why is the College of Business limited to just one format offered for the primary and secondary core classes when it makes up such a large part of the student population? Another issue is students are being proactive in wanting to understand the material in their courses and seek help from TAs, but for this classes like accounting for decision makers, the TA room is about the size of a bathroom stall. Students are having to sit out in the hallways or leave because the amount of students seeking help is far too large for the amount of TAs provided. This problem is also present in the required meetings. In many classes, the amount of students present completely overwhelm the amount of TAs available, leaving many groups vulnerable to failure in an important assignment because they couldn't receive the additional instruction they needed. Solution, larger rooms, and more TAs.
Okay, first of all, thank you. Is Joshua Chick-Fry here? Okay. So Joshua's here to meet with this group afterwards for more details. My office has been reaching out to the dean in the college since we heard from India yesterday and saw this emerging. Let me tell you my perspectives from 30,000 feet. This is not a budget issue. This is a quality of learning issue, and it's really, you said it right. What we know is that from other examples and from my own research in the past, is hybrid learning tends to be a better learning environment than fully online or fully face-to-face. So when you can learn the didactic material, and learning is the key word here, so learning as opposed to teaching. So there's many ways to facilitate learning. Teaching is one of those. But when you can learn the didactic material out of class and in your own way, in your own time, and then you can come into class and really learn the cognitively challenging material, it is shown to improve, significantly improve learning. This is an experiment. It's a grand experiment on some very important foundational courses, so we want to get it right. It's important to get it right, and I really appreciate the fact that the students are voicing your commitment to that and getting this right. I want to make sure that we improve the course through your voices to the extent we can for you, but especially for the students that follow you. So it's bold. I know it's not going to be perfect the first time. It sounds like it's not. But we have to use the feedback to make it better and improve it, because the possibility is that the quality of learning can be significantly improved. And the requirement is that we treat these as foundational courses rather than gateway courses. So let me give you my definition of that. A foundational course means that you better learn it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. It's important that the students learn it deeply and well the first time, because this can be the foundation of everything that follows. Organic chemistry, calculus in finance and in engineering, accounting. These are foundational courses. They used to be seen and are still seen at other universities as gateway courses. In other words, if the student is smart enough to get through this, in other words, if they came with enough knowledge, and they're smart enough to get through this, then maybe they should be one of our majors. That's not what these courses are. That's not the way we think at UCF. What we think about is if a student really wants to be an accounting major, an economist, a computer scientist, then we need to make sure their foundations are solid so that we can build on that within the major. So I'd like to recommend that you meet with Joshua. I know that we've been in communication with the dean, and let's work together to get this right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again. This time I'd like to suggest 4 specific partnerships that I believe would make UCF the eminent university of 21st century. The first partnership would be with Khan Academy. Khan Academy offers courseware up to a mathematics minor at UCF. If we offered that courseware through Khan Academy, we could save each student hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on buggy, glitchy, courseware that honestly we don't enjoy going through. Khan Academy is a much better setting for showing us this content and then also giving us the practices to demonstrate that we know this, giving us a setting within which we can use to practice things like calculus in a live, engaged environment. The second partnership would be an organization named WikiEDU. WikiEDU is an organization based on turning course curriculum into processes that help generate Wikipedia articles. So imagine that instead of writing an essay for this class that you don't really care about, you throw the essay away at the end of the semester, you write a Wikipedia article on the topic. Then the information that you are producing for this article not only becomes something that you can reference for the rest of your career, but millions of others can as well. It helps improve the sustainability of our curriculum and also helps us fill in the gaps where the gaps exist and see exactly where the gaps exist for students to be able to engage critically and individually on topics of their own interest. The third partnership, I'm sure you've heard this talked about a lot, is fleet farming. If we include campus agriculture into the campus master plan, we can provide a supply chain that not only creates an accessible food supply for students of all disabilities, religious orientations, preferences, even I'm vegan, there's all sorts of different things that people would prefer to have access to on campus, healthy food options that don't, give me the risk of getting diabetes like my parents got. And I think that fleet farming, if we're able to expand campus agriculture and feed that into the Aramark supply chain, we could lower the transportation costs as well as the carbon emissions from Aramark and UCF systematically. The fourth partnership, and this is the last one I swear, is links. So last year, I was able to work with Lynx to help make sure that all students, faculty, and staff have access to all Lynx buses for free. I think it's time for us to take the next step. Now that we have access to these buses for no added cost for students, faculty, and staff, we should remove redundant bus lines that we're investing in currently, spending up to $300,000 per shuttle, and route that into other underserved near campus student housing. So for example, if you want to go to U House, right? University House, just down the street, we should be able to walk into a Lynx bus, go to U House, and be set. So that way the university doesn't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per shuttle route, but at the same time, students still have access to the transportation they need to be able to not only lower their cost of living, but also make it to campus. I truly believe that if we, like what Stephen was saying, if we are able to lower the cost of living and the cost of education, we are, by definition, increasing opportunity for students. And I think that these 4 particular moves can simultaneously lower the cost of living and education and increase the quality of our education.
Thank you. I'm just going to react to you for a minute, or respond to you for a minute. On Khan Academy, I think that's fascinating. I met with Salman Khan almost 3 years ago when he was looking for a university to create. I was at another university, I guess it was 4 years ago, to credential learning. So it's really about credentialing prior learning, because Khan Academy is free. So the partnership, and I can tell you, because I look at the John T. Washington Bridge, what people are doing, when people are studying for our calculus, they're using Khan Academy to study. In many cases, it's a fascinating platform, and could be, in partnership, a platform for scaling at a global level, because Salman Khan is already committed to that. Fleet farming, you're speaking my wife's language there, Mary. And we are both very committed to sustainability. They're doing a great job. Fleet farming is doing a great job. The only thing I would want to add to that is, in addition to students, we have a number of faculty and staff who don't have land, or if they do, it's all under shade trees, to have their own garden. And we've always been part of community gardens. There is a community culture that develops when you're farming together, when you're hanging out at the end of the day and trying to get rid of those nasty weeds.
Could I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think that I've seen some research demonstrating that people being closer to their food supply, actually working on rooting out food and planting everything, that helps lower incidences of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and so on. I think that working with fleet farming and CAPS could help systematically reduce disconnection, isolation, and also the anxiety, depression, PTSD that results from that.
Couldn't agree more. And thanks for the tip on the links. We have made a lot of progress, making great progress downtown. Continuing to improve that, removing redundancy is a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry to be the taskmaster here, but we are running out of time, so I think we can accommodate one here, and we'll try to get to your question, sir.
And I will hang out. We'll also have a email at the end of the time here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today here and us. My name is John Nazario. I am representing myself as an individual student here at the College of Business. Right now I'm majoring in business marketing, and I got some issues for you about the current reduced seating format. Students are beginning to speak out and will continue to do so until they no longer feel just like a dollar sign to UCF. UCF loves to invest in so many buildings and are accused of the misuse of funds in doing so. But with this new reduced seating format, it shows how much this school...
And I apologize, but is this similar to the previous?
Yes, but I got my own questions.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump to the questions. Okay. First question. What is the faculty's response to our complaints? Is there anything being done, or we would just get brushed off? What would it take for the COBA Culture Business to offer more than one method of teaching a class? Are there certain courses that work better in one format or another? And what are the future plans for the next semester classes? There are students coming in from other states and even countries to receive UCF experience. Will these students be met with the same surprise format? If you brush off a complaint this year, you will get a much bigger broom. You're gonna get a much bigger broom next year, because this is gonna get progressively worse.
My request would be to, it looks like you have written those down, make sure you get those to Joshua, and so we can get you answers to your specific questions as well. Thank you.
Alrighty, hello, my name is Gabriel. I'm currently a first year. I just want to say that to add a little bit to my perspective. I've only been here for approximately 5 weeks, but I just want to say that so far, I feel that UCF's biggest potential is its academics, and particularly we said the innovation, and their societal and intellectual progressions, whether through research opportunities or other facets of UCF that develop their incoming students. But I still feel that there is a little bit of room for improvement in how they garner those incoming students, and I would like to pose a situation that expands upon that idea. Now, I'm currently the lead in Excel programs, which I think are both phenomenal programs that offer many benefits to their residential students. But there was an additional program that I missed out on due to certain circumstances. I'd like to describe that situation. Currently, the Honors College, I think it's a very good program. I would like to do honors on the major, so I would not like to deride it in any way. But I'd like to rush through the story just because I know we're pressed for time. So originally, when I applied to UCF, I was accepted, and I called the Honors College just to make sure there was no issue because I wanted to apply there. I know there's a physical application, so I called and said, could you send it to me? Like, not even through the online process. I specifically spoke to someone. And unfortunately, the application never arrived. So then I asked for it again a second time, and it arrived on the due date that it was due back to the college. So obviously, I wasn't able to make the deadline, and I tried to appeal the process, but unfortunately, they didn't seem to be too concerned for my situation. Now, again, I would not like to deride the Honors College or complain about the way they have their processes, but what I would like to ask is, does this warrant an argument for amending the application process for the garnering of other talented students? And my solution to this, or at least my notion of how this could be solved, is digitizing that akin to how Lead and Excel does their programs, and not just that, but also creating a bigger platform for how extraneous programs can be applied to in the UCF system. Because me personally, finding information about even Lead and Excel was a little bit of a process just because it doesn't seem like they have the information readily available on the general UCF website. I think it's interesting how they have Night Connect for clubs so that you're easily able to find whatever club suits you, whatever you find applicable to you. So I think that if we did something similar to Common App, perhaps for all the extracurricular programs at UCF, for any sort of academic development, it would allow more students to better search for what they feel is useful for them, and it allows the garnering of other talented students that maybe wouldn't even have heard of these programs initially. So I just wanted to understand what your thoughts were on that and how they could make this overall better unified platform.
It's Gabriel?
Gabriel, yes.
Gabriel. And you were specifically, the application that you missed was the honors one?
Yes, because it was a physical one.
I'm looking at Gordon Chavez over here, who directs admissions, but not all these other programs. But I really like your idea about trying to simplify it for the student. So one of the things that we're all committed to is not having students navigate our complexity. Now I know our current reality is we're very complex and we're clunky at times, and you have a lot of navigation. This is an excellent example of that. So can we just, it's a very simple step you're recommending, bring together all the programs that a student could be interested and eligible for and present them at one place. And to the extent that we can make dual use like the Common App does, just make it simple and dual use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. Do you have any final comments for...
I'll let you close it up, Tom.
All right.
I've really appreciated this. Great information.
I think we do need to kind of...
1 second, sorry. I felt underrepresented. Staff. How are we going to get there? Staff. Skilled and educated staff to do the coordination of the behind-the-scenes events to ensure the smooth and seamless process on the surface.
Thank you. You
All
should
right.
patent that. Trademark that.
Yes.
Great
Keeps
question
the
about staff.
faculty
We
and students together.
talked about AI, transparency, advising, music, our role downtown, siloing, LGBTQ issues, education economy, the value of failure, and many other things. But you have an opportunity to continue the conversation. Please send any additional thoughts to Dr. Whittaker here. Thank you all for coming, and thank you everybody online. Go Knights and charge on.